What's up, Wisconsin? Welcome back to the Inside Wisconsin Show here on YouTube and wherever you listen to podcasts. Trevor Thomas, John Anderson, and a Packers legend, J.A., and I believe the last jersey you bought, right?
It is the number 7 Don Majkowski jersey. I like Quay Walker. He's doing fine with it, but he is not Don Majkowski. And for those of us that wandered waiting for somebody, for something, some season, what he did in 1989, which I know to you, 1989 is when Taylor Swift was born, and that's probably what you are, and you're probably on the Eras tour and all that. 89 to me means 10-6 Packers, crushing that they didn't make the playoffs. But the joy that Majkowski gave everybody that, and listen, they had good players on that team, but it all started with that guy, right? He was, you want to talk about a face of the franchise. He was not only the face of the franchise, but he was one of those big heads. That's how much he was the face of the franchise that year. And I can still see my mom, and I'm like, I need a jersey, and I want a white one. Okay, because I like the green and gold is great, but I love the white over yellow. Like in Thanksgiving Day, if you're going to beat the Lions, I think it's a great look. And so that was literally the last Packer jersey purchase I made. So what's that? 89, 11, almost 35 years ago.
Wow,
was Don Majkowski. So
I love the stories.
I know to somebody like you, that's like, oh, that's kind of maybe the dawning. And for me, like, this was an island of greatness that I could just, instead of people going, you're Green Bay, you're the Packers, right? And then they go, yeah, they're lousy. I'm like, no, that for that year, it was just, look at us go. Fantastic.
That was probably the first year of Packers football that I actually can recall. Locks of love for days, the eye black, the white wristbands, the towel. I can see it like yesterday, him running around. These are going to be some fun stories to reminisce with the Majik Man himself, Don Majkowski, on the Inside Wisconsin Show.
The Inside Wisconsin Show is brought to you by American Family Insurance, Aaron's Company, Blaine's Farm and Fleet, Capital Credit Union, Festival Foods, Quick Trip, Miller Lite, North Star Mohican Casino Resort, Provea Health, and the University of Wisconsin-Platteville.
Hey, remember to subscribe on YouTube, leave a review, smash the like button, just get with us. Packers legend Don Majkowski. There's no other way to introduce him. Majik Man, we'll try that. Don, thanks for coming on the Inside Wisconsin Show, man.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. It's a pleasure joining you.
So mostly, right, I'm always like, oh, sure, good. Here's a new guest. I like this. This is special to me. Trev, I think you know this. The kids always want new jerseys and the latest guy. And the last Packer jersey I bought, and I have not had to buy one since,
boom,
is right there. Okay.
Nice, John. All right.
That is not.
Is that a Walker jersey or is that?
That is no. You can look first. Look how big the sleeves are. You tell me what year that's from, right? That's a 1989 special. Still sort of quasi fits. I haven't had cause to wear it in a while. But that was you were a revelation to the franchise during that 89 season when it came through. So here's the question I have about the great number 7. How'd you lose number 5?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, it was by choice for sure. When I reported to camp as a rookie, I was a late 10th round draft pick because I got hurt coming out of college. And, it's back in camp back in 1987 where they invited 100 guys into camp in training camp or mini camp back in that era. And when I first came into mini camp, the first day of practice, I reported to the Packers facility. You go to your locker and there's jersey already sitting in your locker. And I went into the locker and I saw number 5, right? And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Paul Hornung, really? I'm like, so I go to the equipment guy because I looked around because I wore number 1 in college at Virginia, right? So I looked around the locker room. I didn't see anybody with 1. So I go to the equipment guy, Bob Knowles at the time, who was there during the Lombardi era. And I said, Bob, what's the deal with giving me number 5? Is there any way I can get number 1? I wore number 1 in college, and he just looked at me, laughed at me, 10th round, peon draft pick, right? Probably thinking, dude, just go back to your locker. You'll probably be here for like a cup of coffee in a week. We'll have number 5 back in the, back in the equipment room before no time. Well, as it turned out, I did pretty well my rookie year. Obviously, I made the team, but during the preseason game, Paul Horning was doing our radio coverage for all our preseason games. And by the second preseason game, he's like, this Majkowski kid's okay. I really kind of gravitating towards him, even though he's wearing my jersey. He said he's got the long blonde hair. I know he's single. I know he probably does okay off the field. This is before I was married now, and before I had my girlfriend, who's my wife now. He was like, I'm sure he does pretty well off the field. And, he reminds me of myself. So I'm glad that if they gave anybody my number, I'm glad that he's wearing it. So I finally did get a chance to meet him after that second preseason game. And I said, Mr. Horning, he's like, call me Paul Magic. And he said, hey, I'm glad they gave you my number. And I'm like, well, I'm not. But anyways, thank you for being so cool. And so I wore it my whole rookie year because I had no choice. But as I came back for my second year and I became more of an established starter, I was able to change numbers. I found out they don't ever hand out number 1 because I guess that was Curly Lambeau's number. I never knew that. And so I gave number 5 back, and I said any single digits, you have left in the locker room. And I guess number 7 looked close to 1, so I took number 7. That's how we ended up with 7. But Horning was cool as can be, and we ended up being really good friends for the rest of his life and for a long time. It was great.
That's incredible. How pumped are you that mullets are coming back? That must really make you excited.
I got it. Yeah, I'm still trying to rock it, man.
Look at this.
I'm going to be 60, man. It's hanging on as much as I can. Got a little bit of flow still, but it's harder these days, especially on top. The mullet was cool back then. The 80s, it was great. I look back at pictures of myself, kind of cringe, because I not only had the mullet, but I threw in some of the blonde highlights. Sometimes they were a little too blonde, looked orange, not cool.
That's
Anyways,
awesome.
it
So
was
John and I,
what was cool back then, a lot of the kids, in Green Bay were wearing the mullet, and come to practice with the mullet, and I guess it was a little bit of a trend center. It was pretty nice. It was fun.
It's back. It's completely back. So John and I joke all the time that he grew up with a different era of Packers than I did. And I'm not trying to make you feel old or John feel old, but I was 4 when you got drafted by the Packers. So you literally are my first memory of the Green Bay Packers. And it was Don Majkowski to Sterling Sharp, right? I mean, my gosh, it gives me goosebumps just thinking about that. So take us back to the beginning part of your career, number 7 and number 5 aside. How much did you feel the Packers' love from the moment you got here?
I felt it pretty quick. The first time I was driving when I first got drafted, I got to be honest, I got drafted and I had to pull out the map and try to look up where Green Bay was. Where's Wisconsin? I grew up in Buffalo, but a Polish guy from Buffalo community, and so when I was first driving into Wisconsin, going to minicamp, I'm driving before 50 miles or 40 miles from Green Bay, and I'm going through a town called Pulaski. So I was like heading in the right direction. I said I'll probably be able to fit in pretty easily here with all the all the Polacks in Wisconsin. So it was an easy fit. It really was. And like I said, being from Buffalo, I was used to the cold weather, played in cold weather, so it was a very easy fit for me to adjust.
Majkowski, Zakowski, Grabowski, Pavowski, like, did you just these are my people?
That's all you see. Piezinski's, Lewandowski's, Kwiatkowski. It's all it is. And I laugh so bad because if I go back to my high school friends and see all my high school friends, that's all they are. Italians and Polacks, man. It was pretty funny.
I tell people all the time when they say, well, Green Bay, that Northeast Wisconsin doesn't seem very diverse. And I'm like, what do you mean? We have Polish people and German people and Belgian people. and we all know the difference of those things. So you come in your 10th round draft pick, but clearly you had a better feel for where what your ability was. But what kind of an uphill climb is that? Because to some degree, that's a bit of a caste system when you come in and there's only so many reps.
Right. I had a big chip on my shoulder. I knew, coming out of Virginia, I wasn't in a great offensive system at Virginia that highlighted my passing ability. We ran the option a lot. We didn't throw the ball very much. We had a great running game. We had some really good running backs. And then I got hurt my senior year. The third game of the season, I separated my passing shoulder, so my draft stock went way down. But I had a lot of confidence in my ability, believe it or not. I mean, I knew I was a really good all around athlete, and I played basketball, ran track, baseball. And I just knew that given the right opportunity, being in the right place, the right time, and thrown into a passing system, that I could definitely be successful. And when I got to Green Bay my rookie year, and I was finally in the NFL offense, and as the years went by, it held up, and I was able to prove that I like better than a 10th rounder for sure, because like all the guys who got drafted in the first round that year, my year were Jim Harbaugh, Vinny Testaverde, Chris Miller, Steve Berline was up there, Rich Gannon, all those guys got drafted before me, but I was definitely in that group of guys as far as talent, and I was pretty confident in myself.
But how do you punch through with coaches? Because here you are, right? The depth chart's set, and you're like, okay, am I even going to get a chance to throw? Like, where do you, when you're in those practice spots, where are those spots that you get to shine so the coaches notice you and then more snaps come?
Well, the best thing that happened to me by getting drafted by Green Bay is really they did not have an established superstar quarterback like a John Elway or Dan Marino. So when I went in, they had, Randy Wright was I think the incumbent starter for the last 3 years or so, and he was from Wisconsin, local guy, and he was doing okay. And our teams were struggling back then, didn't have a big supporting cast. So when I went in my rookie year, I was getting equal reps, and I was able to figure it out really quickly that I would have a really good shot to play. I just did. Not knocking any of the other guys, but I just thought that I was as good, or if not better, than any of the guys we had in camp. My rookie year, the guys that we had in camp, John, check this out. We had Randy Wright as one of the quarterbacks, Mark Wilson, the old Raiders quarterback, Chuck Fusina, the old Penn State quarterback, played in the USFL. Yeah. We had Robbie Bosco from BYU, myself. It was a cast of character. We had, who else was in there? Was the, oh my gosh, what was his name? David Woodley, the Dolphins quarterback, who's unfortunately passed. But David Woodley was in camp. So I was in camp with a lot of guys that were in the twilight of their career or at the latter stages. So I had a pretty good shot. It was a perfect spot for me to get drafted.
So Chuck Fusina, he won a USFL championship. Woodley went to a Super Bowl. And by the way, he was doing okay is the nicest thing anybody's ever said about Randy Wright as a quarterback. Right? Like, I don't know the guy, and he may be a wonderful human being, but I know what his stats are. I lived through and watched it. He was doing okay is the nicest thing anyone will ever say about his career as a Packer. You're a generous man. That's all I'm going to say.
That's all I'm going to say. Randy's a buddy of mine, and I don't want to say anything. Let's just say. Seriously though, the supporting cast wasn't, what it could have been. But hey, let's okay, John, let's let it go.
That's all. Yep, that's all. I'm just going to make a pointing out that is that it's not you are. When they talk about complimentary football, that's as complimentary as you can get.
All right.
Okay. So part of the story is, right, that you take over for Randy Wright, and then Brett Favre takes over for you, and then Aaron Rodgers takes over for Favre, and now it's happening again with Jordan Love. How do you process, Majik, watching this happen repetitively? I guess it's part of the sport, right? But nobody's closer to it than you are as far as Packers go.
It happens. It happens to everyone. A lot of players, no matter how great you are. Joe Montana got replaced by Steve Young, Peyton Manning by Andrew Luck. Bledsoe got hurt, and then Brady took over. So, Kurt Warner went in with an injury to, what was the other guy's name? From the Rams.
Trent Green.
Trent Green. I'm sorry. Yeah, Trent. Trent was having a nice career there. Then all of a sudden he got hurt. Kurt took over, and, it just opens a door and gives another guy an opportunity. So, when it happened to me, I was the established starter. I was a 6-year pro in 1992, and I got injured in the third game of the season. Brett and I were good friends. We got along, and it wasn't his fault that I got hurt. And I told him, look, go out and do your thing, because I was out for like 8 to 10 weeks, I think, with a really bad ankle injury. And he just went out and, he had to take care of business, do what he had to do. And, I supported him and everything, but, and eventually it happened to Brett. He got replaced with Aaron, and, now Aaron with Jordan Love. So it's just the nature of the sport, But those guys, Favre and Rodgers, they were able to enjoy a little bit longer career than I was. 15 years and 16 years as starters. Those guys were unbelievable. What great careers they had.
So I look at that though, and maybe I'm looking at this from a kid who grew up with watching some quarterback play that was not great. And while their numbers are, 400 touchdown passes and 60,000 yards kind of guy, I think you could argue that your season in '89 gave notoriety to you and the Packers that hadn't been there in decades, since Starr for sure. And I would argue that maybe your stats aren't the same as theirs, but your Q rating is pretty close. Like, what's it like when you go back and people go, holy crap, Don Majkowski? Because I don't imagine that you can slide in under the cover of darkness in Green Bay.
Yeah, you know what? I hear pretty much the same thing. Fans, just what you said, fans were like, hey, Magic, we just want to thank you for bringing back the excitement back to Green Bay football, bringing back some respectability. And you're really part of the reason that we started watching the Packers and becoming, fans again and being really excited on Sundays. And, even though I never came to the playoffs even, which we were close in '89, if I wouldn't have had some injuries, man, it would have been a whole different story because I really did have it going on. And by my third year in '89, I was really leading the league in passing, was all pro. And then unfortunately, I had to go through a long contract holdout going into my fourth year, which hurt the team, hurt me, hurt everything about our momentum from '89. And then I sustained a severe rotator cuff injury in the 10th game of the season in 1990, my fourth year. So that was an injury that really, really put a hamper in my career because I don't think I ever recovered and was able to throw to the level that I was prior to that injury. So that was really the injury that really, really put a damper in my career.
In today's NFL, you can't block without getting fined. The game has changed since you played, Don. And if I'm reading Twitter right, you're about to have a 26th surgery. Did you think about the injuries when you were playing those years ago?
You mean how it would affect me post career?
Yeah, or maybe just 26 surgeries is a lot, right?
I mean, when I was playing, obviously, back in that era, the rules were incredibly different, and quarterbacks got pounded. I mean, I look back at some old game footage and see, replays of some of the hits I took, and after releasing the ball, some of these defensive ends and linebackers coming up through the middle, they were able to take 2, almost 3 steps after you release the ball, still hit you in the face, hit you in the sternum, pick you up, all their weight with their helmet, and just bury you into that hard turf or whatever you played on back then. And it was hard. It was brutal, and boy, it was hard sledding, and unfortunately, it led to me in my post career having so many surgeries because of everything that happened to me while I played. I mean, this January 10th, I'm going in for my 26th surgery. I still have a rotator cuff tear in my right shoulder. I'm getting repaired, and then as soon as that's repaired, in a few months, I have to have a total shoulder replacement in my left shoulder. So that'll be the 27th surgery, and it's been a tough road. It's been a hard road. I mean, I went through a lot of years of being in a lot of pain. Went through some tough surgeries. My ankle's fused, my lower back is fused, my neck is fused, and I just had a total hip replacement with some tendons reattached to my hip last February. So every year, pretty much after the season, even though I'm retired, I pretty much have some kind of surgery, like in January. And then rehab, February, March, April, May, and by June, July, I'm ready to head back up to Wisconsin for the season.
So this makes a kind of a follow-up question that I hadn't planned. But when I used to work locally, and I'd go when I was in Arizona and places, I love to go in the bye week and go, even if it was 7 or 8 weeks, and go like, show me where it hurts. And these guys would have, they'd be in crutches or walking boot, or they'd have their thing off, and they're like, "But I'll be fine. We got 10 days, no problem." As you sit there right now, what's sore?
My lower back, especially from my lower back, I had what do you call it? A degenerative disc disease in my back. So I had bone on bone in my lower back, and I had some artificial cages, some discs put in my back. And when I sit for longer than probably 20 minutes, I got to stand up, stretch right away. And then if I stand too long, my back starts bothering me a lot as well. And And then my neck is still a problem. I've had, I got a fuse. I got
Oh,
big scar here where they went in front. I've got like 2 big plates in my neck with like 8 screws, and I got a big old zipper in the back of my neck. So the neck and my back are brutal, but right now my shoulders are terrible. I mean, I can't do anything with my shoulders right now, so I'm waiting to get those repaired. So it's always something, man. It's always something, and it's just something you have to kind of learn to live with. But it's been tough.
and it's a shame, right? Because as medicine gets better, Drew Brees had a surgery that's very much like yours, saved his career and got to play until whenever, right? Like, and that
Right.
wasn't available to you then. But that said, all you guys say, like, I'd do it again. Like, why would you do it again?
I would probably do it again if I was playing in today's era.
Yeah.
If I was playing today, where they have the rule changes, obviously the difference in salaries and the difference in playing surfaces. I mean, I think that the fields are a lot better. Some of the AstroTurf's a lot better, even though there's still a ton of guys getting hurt on turf every week. That's the only way I probably would reconsider playing, is if I could do it in this today's game.
Well, Tom Brady just said he thought the coaching and the play was kind of mediocre. Listen,
Yeah.
It's a lot less violent too. There's a reason Tom played till he was 46, or Drew Brees played till they're 42, and that's exactly the reason. Is that you can't?
That's exactly right. Yeah,
You can't kill a guy.
No, I saw what he said, that, but it's exactly the only way you can play that long is with these rule changes. I mean, I talked to all the old school guys like Jim Kelly. He's had a lot of the similar stuff that I've had. Neck fusion, ankle fusion, back. He's had a lot of the same things, along with all the stuff that he had with his cancer and everything. He's been through the ringer as well. But there's a lot of guys hurting that played back in our era. No question.
Mm-hmm.
And my back hurts because I'm tall and fat. But I mean, by all means, like it's I get it. I totally get it. All right, let's take a break. Back more with Majik here on the Inside Wisconsin Show in just a bit.
The Inside Wisconsin Show is brought to you by American Family Insurance, Aaron's Company, Blaine's Farm and Fleet, Capital Credit Union, Festival Foods, Quick Trip, Miller Lite, North Star Mohican Casino Resort, Provea Health, and the University of Wisconsin-Platteville.
Hey, remember to subscribe on YouTube, leave a review, smash the like button, just get with us. It's always beer season during Packers season, and we are approaching beer freezing season. You and I have talked about how we have an outdoor cooler, right?
Mm-hmm.
And 'tis the season. However, there's a very small window where things get a little slushy, including there at a Packers game with a Miller Lite in your hand. It's happened to me one time where my beer froze faster than I could drink it. It was the NFC Championship game in 2007. Favre's last game as a Packer against the Giants. My beer was frozen. Bad day.
I will say this again real quick. People that live in the South don't understand the joy of being able to just throw a beer in a snowbank. Here's a 6-pack. You know what? We don't have any room in the fridge, whatever. Boom. Because once it's in the snow, cools, won't freeze. So it's freezing, but it's insulated all at the same time. It's fantastic.
It stays cold. It won't freeze. And it's also getting to the point where we can't have a garage beer fridge anymore. That fridge needs to be moved back downstairs because our garage isn't insulated all the way around. Working on that, but the beer inside that fridge does freeze and then explodes, and then it gets weird, and it's a waste of beer.
Then it explodes, and then you got to cover up. I love the fact that you said, like, it's always beer season. There are 4 seasons in the actual, weather calendar, and then in the Miller Lite calendar, there's just beer season.
Yeah, literally
all 4.
Yeah, especially around football. Careful with your beers. Careful with your Miller Lites here as we get to the end of the Packers season. I believe the last game of the year is against the Bears at home. It's going to be cold. Responsibly drink your beer before it freezes, whether it's out at the tailgate or inside Lambeau Field itself.
Just put it under your armpit for a while. Just get it down there, and you'll be fine.
Hopefully that's a can.
Make it Miller time with grilled cheeses.
Oh, God. Make it Miller time all season long. See, Miller time seasons that they all got. Get Miller Lite delivered right to your door. Visit MillerLite.com/Inside Wisconsin, or you can find it pretty much anywhere that sells beer. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces. I can barely get through that read without giggling, thinking of you having a beer under this armpit and a grilled cheese under here. Just drink it and eat it, man. Let's go.
I apologize to everyone.
All right, in between segments with the Majik Man, time for another top 5 list here on the Inside Wisconsin show, presented by Wisconsin Leaders in STEM, the University of Wisconsin-Platteville. UW-Platteville's exciting STEM programs make it a top university in Wisconsin and the Midwest region. In fact, UW-Platteville is ranked in the top 20 for regional universities in the Midwest. Find out more at uwplatt.edu. J.A., the floor is yours for this week's top 5.
I'm so excited about the top 5 because you finally let me here, John, you can do the top 5. Okay, great.
Sure.
So my first thought is, since it was odd that people didn't know that Don Majkowski probably don't remember he wore number 5. They all remember Paul Hornung. I thought, let's do the top 5 guys that have worn number 5 since Paul Hornung.
Okay.
Except there's only 4. So that's not going to work.
Can't do that.
Can't do that. Then I thought, okay, Fork Union, right? The Fork Union Military Academy. Let's go with 5 guys that played for the Packers that are notable that played at Fork Union. Which would be great, except there's only 4. So that's out.
Off to a hot start here.
All right. The tip of the cap, though, to John Dorsey and maybe Tyrone Williams. So then I thought, okay, how about top 5 in the passing yardage? Because Don is 6th.
Uh-huh.
Well, that's
pretty easy.
I thought even you can get that, right? Favre, Rogers, Bart Starr, Lynn Dickey. And then I'd say, okay, the one you don't know is Tobin Rote, and he's a Hall of Famer.
Great.
So all those ideas suck, so I'm turning it back to you.
And I recommended, why don't we do the top? Jeez, they don't all suck, by the way. Just 4 and 4. And I would have got 3 of those, by the way. I wouldn't have guessed the guy that you said from the 90s and the 80s that was the quarterback.
Lynn Dickey?
Yeah, him. Yeah, I wouldn't have got that. But I would have got the other 3.
This saves me being disappointed in you, so that's good.
Well, it wouldn't be an episode if you weren't. All right. Top 5 plays from the eras before the Rodgers era. So I was thinking back to what are the top 5 plays from maybe the Favre era or maybe Majkowski himself that I recall like that. And I mentioned it to you. And of course, somewhere up here lived at least 5 plays that you're like, oh, boom, 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 boom. So I'm going to share my top 5 memories, my top 5 plays. Most of them, if not all of them, have something to do with the Brett Favre era, but that's my childhood. And I assume that you are pre-Brett Favre era. Yeah.
These are pre-Aaron Rodgers.
Yes.
Okay. And I will go pre-Brett Favre.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, as someone who grew up, there still might only be 4. But we'll see what we can piece together.
All right. So help me remember these 5 then, because I don't know who we were playing or where they were playing, but here's how I remember them. Number 5, the Lambeau Leap game, that Lambeau Leap play, right? Reggie with the pitch to Leroy Butler. That's number 5. Number 4, I can tell you exactly where I was sitting on the couch in the apartment in Johnson Creek when Antonio Freeman had that ball rest on his shoulder and he flips over and grabs it and runs it in for a touchdown. Monday Night Football, right?
He did what? That was Al Michaels' call.
He did what? Yeah, man. Wow. I remember that vividly. That's number 4. Number 3, Favre had a rushing touchdown that sticks out to me. It was the last game, I believe, at County Stadium.
Okay.
Do you remember what I'm talking about? Where Favre, I remember him getting drilled at the goal line and did this weird kind of helicopter thing. I know that when we think helicopter touchdown, we think of Elway in Super Bowl 32.
Yeah.
Right. But I feel like there was a very memorable play, a rushing touchdown by Favre where he got drilled at the goal line. It was the last game at County Stadium. That much I know for sure. But that sticks in the old dome for some reason.
Yep,
maybe
that
you
one
can
I'm not as familiar
piece that
with.
together. Number 2, we want the ball and we're going to score. Sorry, Hasselbeck, but Al Harris had some other ideas. I remember that like this. I can just see him cruising down the sidelines. And didn't he stick up a finger like this is happening?
Off he went. Little snowflake. It was everything a playoff game should be. It was fantastic. And Al, by the way, one of the great trades. The Packers don't do a ton of free agency. They don't do some of these. Al Harris, what a great career he had.
Sorry about it, Mr. Hasselbeck. And my number 1 memorable play, I have this vivid image of Sterling Sharp standing in the end zone. I was young when this happened. This had to have been like 92, 93, where he is standing alone in the end zone. I think he takes a pass from Favre, and all you see is a grin from ear to ear. Where was that? What was this? I have that memory.
That was the playoff game in Detroit. got tight late, and he was always kind of, a lot of times I'll use that on Sports Center, like guys are open, then there's wide open, and then there was Sterling Sharp.
Very open.
Like, how do you lose? I get that Favre had rolled the other way, right? He had rolled to his left. They were in the old Pontiac Silverdome, I think. I don't think Ford Field was there. He rolled left. Yeah, totally was the Silverdome. And so I get that not a lot of guys can make that throw, right? You got to be able to be a hoss. But still, how do you lose 84? Because he was just back there. And I think if memory serves, the Packers had lost the last game of the season to the Lions, and then had to go to Detroit. Is that their first playoff game under Holmgren? Might have been their first playoff game under Holmgren.
Oh, interesting.
Holmgren. And then I think they got to, go lose to the Cowboys. But yeah, and he was just so, like you said, and then he just stood there in the back. He wasn't even arms weren't up there. He just kind of stood there and just had this, a Cheshire cat grin. And there he was. And that was the ball game. And then really, we were on our way. And then Super Bowls followed.
Boom. And away we go.
Aaron Rodgers and then Jordan Love.
Yeah.
And then the Inside Wisconsin Show podcast.
Boom.
That started
doing well. It did. Clearly. All right. So now teach me about the 5 plays that I clearly know nothing about, other than I think I'm probably going to be able to remember or get one of these. But what are the ones you wrote down?
So, if you take my lifetime, that opens up a lot of plays, right? Because I was born in 1965. So technically I could do the Ice Bowl.
That's not on your list?
No.
Then I'm screwed. I have no idea.
How about by the way, this is a dumb aside because that's what I do. Do you remember the game the year before that, the championship game, and the great goal line stand the Packers made?
No.
Yeah. So they come out to an early 14 lead. They're at the Cotton Bowl in Dallas. Same thing. Don Meredith. And the Cowboys come all the way back, and now they're on like the 2 or 3 yard line with a chance to tie the game. And Don Meredith he rolls out. And Dave Robinson, Hall of Famer, 89, he goes charging through the line, and he goes and all but drapes himself over Don Meredith. And Meredith just throws it away, and it's a pick in the end zone, and the Packers preserve the victory. So literally both games came down. The one just happened to be minus 107 degrees and was played on a polar ice cap, so it's remembered more. But the other one, and then Dave Robinson tells a wonderful story that was not his assignment. He just kind of read the play and went after him. He was supposed to be in coverage, and so he made the game-winning play, and he said in film study, I got a -2 from Lombardi because I wasn't doing what I was supposed to do.
Oh, my gosh.
So none of those plays are the plays, though. So here we go.
All right.
Number 5, against the Cowboys, Packers playoff game, 82. They go down to Dallas. And this one, even though they got beat, it was actually competitive, and there was a great end around by James Lofton. Eddie Lee Ivory had it. He goes 71 yards, pulls him really close later in the third quarter, I think it was. But it's just, to me, there was nothing better than to watch James Lofton run. Like, he was literally a gazelle.
Yeah.
Paul Kaufman,
I do have an image.
right? Yeah. So just watching him, and for 71 yards, to watch him go on this end around, and you're just like, oh my gosh, he is just to run one day in your life like that and go, look how athletic that dude is, right? You're just like, that guy is special. So that's number 5.
Okay.
Number 4, forgive me, I have 2 field goals on the list. Number 4 was the kick that was missed by Mark Mosley. Monday Night Football, the Packers win 48-47. And the big play, by the way, Mark Murphy on that Washington secondary.
Oh, yeah. That's the one that they don't ever want to talk about, right?
One of the great games in Monday Night Football history. It was only recently outscored. It was the highest scoring game. But 48-47, Monday night at home in Lambeau. And the guy who used to write a sketch for the News Chronicle, Leahy, he had a great – there it is. And you see the ball going. And he said the only explanation is that one half of Lambeau Field exhaled while the other half inhaled and just moved the ball out.
Kaufman talked about that game to us, didn't he?
Who?
Paul Kaufman.
Yeah. It was one of the most amazing things ever. Also, pre-Favre, number 3, hello, Don Majkowski against the Bears. Line of scrimmage, over the line of scrimmage, no touchdown. Let's look at it again. Wait, actually, touchdown. Packers win. Mike Ditka, eternally furious to this day. Makes him madder than talking about Democrats. Number 2 is a really memorable play, and it shows how different media is. So I am sitting at home. Packers are playing in Lambeau Field. old blackout rules apply. And now we're sitting in the front yard, actually kind of sitting on the roof, and we're listening to the game on the radio against the Raiders. And I think I've said this before, right? You'd hear the play on the radio, and then you'd wait for the cheer when something good happened. And so the Packers are driving, and I think it's Scott Hunter, and he pitches it to either Mac Lane or Brockington, a little option pitch, and they fumble it into the end zone. And Jack Tatum of the Raiders picks it up and goes 104 yards. I still think it's tied for the longest fumble return out of his end zone, 104 yards, touchdown Raiders. So you're listening to this on the radio, you're listening to the call, and you're just like, oh my God. And then all of a sudden, instead of hearing the cheers, you just hear this, collective groan, 1,001, 1,002, 1,000, as it echoes over from Lambeau Field. So we hear that and we listen to it, but I don't get to see it until the 10 o'clock news that night.
Oh, wow. That's wild.
Where before you'd have had it in 13 seconds, right? By the time, because that's how long it took him to run the field, and you would have had it. So you got to wait all night. And then number one.
Can I guess?
Yeah.
Marco Miracle.
It's number one.
Has to be.
Another field goal. Opening day against the Bears. Kick blocked. Alan Page. Markle. Off he goes. Round the corner. Touchdown. Guy still doesn't know how to play football.
It's the one time I thought you were genuinely pissed at me via text when I texted you something about it, and your response was, will you effers just leave this alone? I'm like, Whoop, hit a hot button. Sorry.
Those of us that at the time had their whole football existence tied up in Walter Payton, that was a crushing day.
Yeah,
crushing day. So
someday,
you know what? Someday we should get the guys, my friends that were in the stands that day, to give their recollections of that.
That's a John Wisconsin right there.
Get Byron, get Todd Teskey, get some of these guys that were there that just this.
That episode of Deeper Roots is coming with you and your guys touring us around some of these hot spots.
I don't know that these guys. I don't know that we can divulge the exact location of Pete's Beats. It's okay to know kind of where it is.
That's the one that comes to mind.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, man.
Maybe, you know what? Maybe, God, I hope she lives a long and wonderful life. She's 82 in the picture of health. So maybe when my mother passes away at the ripe old age of 102, then we can revisit. Some of these things are going to need to stay in the vault for a little longer.
For a little while longer. All right. Hopefully a lot longer. Yeah. All right. Let's go back down memory lane. More stories with Majik himself, Don Majkowski. Let's go.
At Prevea Orthopedics and Sports Medicine in Green Bay, we know power starts with the hips. That's why Dr. Michael Ryan and our team of experts provide comprehensive and advanced hip care unlike anywhere else. Come to Prevea, where we can preserve your hips so you can pursue your goals.
We're back, the Inside Wisconsin Show. Trevor John and Majik Man, Don Majkowski. Majik, 1989 was a special season. 6 years total with the Packers, 6 seasons, right? You have some pretty established Wisconsin roots, though, well beyond your playing career. Your wife is from Milwaukee, and her entire family's from here. So how has that been, I guess, post-playing to really call Wisconsin home, even though you live somewhere else?
Yeah, no, it definitely is. And, my wife, who I've been married to for 30 years now, we dated the whole 6 years that I was in Green Bay. So we've been with each other for 36 years. And that's been the best thing that happened to me being drafted by Green Bay, is being able to meet her. And I honestly mean that. But she's a special gal. I'm very lucky. Anyways, her family being there, she's got her mom and dad are still there. She's got a couple sisters. They're married. And they're kids. I have nephews and big family. So we go back all the time. It's nice to visit the family, and then having that opportunity to. And she was about an hour and a half south of Green Bay, Milwaukee. So then having the opportunity to go to Green Bay when I'm visiting, or we spend a lot more time in Green Bay going to games now in the fall. It's been a great situation because I absolutely call Wisconsin my second home, or if not my first home.
You ever talk to Mike Ditka?
I did a couple times after obviously we were done playing, and I swear to this day he still hates talking about that damn game in 1989, that instant replay game. He just still does not like to talk about it, and he'll tell you. Yeah, he'll tell you. So only a few times, John. Only a few quick times. That's about it. We did a some kind of show was on ESPN, or somebody was covering the rivalry between Green Bay and the Bears and the history of it. And Ditka was on, I was on, and Singletary was on, and we went through the whole replay of that game. And yeah, even during that in that interview, he was getting fired up. He didn't like talking about it.
Right, because the rule is, listen, it's not the ball. The whole person has to be over the line, which people all learned from that, right? That's what everybody learned from that play, is they thought, oh, it's just a ball. The whole, like, even if you got your heel behind, you're good. All I know is that, he worked here for a long time, and I'd see him, and he knew he was from Green Bay. And every time he looked at me, like, I think he couldn't really be mad at me because, like, we'd work and I wasn't mean, and he couldn't really be mad at Lombardi because he was Vince. So I feel like all his things they focused on you. Like, you were the guy, the brunt of all of it, because it just was like, that's the guy I can dislike the most and make that all about the Packers. You were the guy.
No doubt. And you know what's funny though about how you were explaining, the rule on that play? It's the same. Like I say, it's comparable to, like, if a basketball player is going to save a ball from going out of bounds. He can jump inbounds, right? Be floating in the air, catch the ball, and then throw it back inbounds. So obviously, he's out of bounds. His hand is out of bounds, but he jumped, inbounds, and it's a good play. It's the same thing in football. If your foot's behind the line, that's all that matters. And we were way behind the line in that game, John. And we're not just saying that because it was my play or whatever. But I mean, I was a yard and a half behind the line of scrimmage. Maybe my hand was close to when I released the ball, but that's not the rule. And I don't even think my hand was close really either. But
the Oklahoma State football coach told me one time years ago when he talked about arguing, somebody asked about a controversial call, and he just said, "Did the ref go like this?" And he's like, "Then it was a touchdown." That's really all we need to know. You grew up Buffalo, man. You were like in the shadow of the airport. Like, that's a good football team, a football town too, right? Like, give me some feel of Buffalo compared to Green Bay in terms of their love for their franchises.
Very similar. Buffalo's a lot bigger though. Green Bay is small. I mean, Green Bay is only 90,000 people. I don't know the population in Buffalo, but yeah, Bills fans are just as passionate, as Packer fans, and it's all they have, really. I mean, they have a professional hockey team as well as the Sabres, but they don't have basketball, and they got the Bills. So it's very similar as Packer fans have, with the Packers, and they got the Bucks, but at least they got the Brewers as well. There's more sports in Wisconsin, actually, that there are in Buffalo. So very similar, though. Very similar. Just as cold, believe me. Yeah.
Don, are you a Packers owner?
I am. No, I've got thousands of stock they gave me. Yeah. When they inducted me to the Packer Hall of Fame, they gave me thousands of shares of stock, which you know what that amounts to.
Right. Where's Tom Bratz when you needed that?
Right. Oh my gosh, Tom Bratz, rest his soul. So that's the guy that had me holding out in 1990, man. That I still couldn't figure it out. But let's not go there.
So back to your Wisconsin roots for a second, spending the time you did here and meeting your wife and so on. Do you have a favorite Wisconsin memory that you can kind of tap into, whether it's off the field and part of the community or actually on the field?
I mean, there's been so many. I mean, a favorite Wisconsin moment. I mean, obviously when I was playing there were some great moments, but my wife and I and all her friends and my friends, we used to go out, a lot down in Milwaukee. It's a lot more fun to go out in Milwaukee. There used to be like dance clubs. There's things to do. So hanging out in Milwaukee was a lot of fun. Dating my wife and now being married to my wife and going back there and regrouping, reuniting with our friends and hanging out and enjoying downtown Milwaukee. We really liked it. And now it's even more beautiful. It's a fun place.
I feel like when you played that you had kind of a confidence and air about you, like that most people in Wisconsin, Midwesterners would be like, I would so like to do that, but I'm not sure I could pull that off. Like it was admirable, and it was so not what Wisconsin people are. Where did that come from? Right? Where did this confidence, this kind of I'm going to do this with some style points come from?
You know what, John, honestly, it started at a really early age. When I started playing Little League football at like 8 years old, I've always had the long hair, and it's my mom's doing. My mom always liked to help my hair hanging out my helmet, right? My mom and I are very tight. My mom used to love going to our football games with my dad. They never missed a game. They never missed a football game. They never missed a basketball game, from little league all the way through high school, baseball games, track, you name it, summer ball. I had great parents. Unfortunately, my dad passed a couple of years ago, but my mom is still alive. And the long hair started with my mom, and the swagger. It's just I was something that I didn't try to work too hard at. It was just kind of, I was just born with it, and I went with it. And sometimes I think, like in high school, when I was a younger player in high school, like my sophomore year playing on varsity, and I carried myself with a certain swagger. Maybe, it was just confidence. I don't think I was ever arrogant, but a lot of the older guys misinterpreted, the confidence for arrogance. And I had a hard time getting along with a lot of the older guys in high school, taking their positions or taking their playing time. And it wasn't always an easy transition when I was younger, but it just continued through college. And, Joe Namath was my idol, so I got to blame a little bit on Joe Namath. He had the long hair, man. He had the swag. The way he taped his shoes, first guy to ever wear white shoes in the NFL. That I started in Little League taping my shoes. Now they call it spat your shoes. Every game, every high school game, did it, college and in the pros, and just and when I got to the NFL, I started added a little bit of the eye black underneath the eyes, just some aesthetics, and it just kind of topped it off. Always had the wristbands, the towel hanging out. Always had to look the part.
I can see that.
Listen, we're down with Joe Willie.
Yeah, me too, man. That's my guy.
So can you get away with that stuff if you're at a military academy in a post-grad year? Like, what's Fork Union like? That sounds like a place I don't want to be.
Yeah, man, it was, well, let me first say this. I got injured my senior year in high school, so I didn't receive not one scholarship offer. So Syracuse was kind of recruiting me a little bit. But when I got hurt in the first game of the season, first pass of my senior year, I got hurt. And I didn't even start at quarterback my junior year. I played DB. So I really didn't have any high school career. But Jim Tressel, the old Ohio State coach, was the quarterback coach at Syracuse at the time. And he said, look, if you still want to continue, I think you have the ability to play D1. And if you still want to play, there's a really good option. And it was this military prep school to go to. And it was about 45 minutes outside of University of Virginia and at UVA in Charlottesville. And you go there, and it's really a senior year over again out of high school. It's a military high school. Guys go there in high school for like 4 years of high school. Eddie George went to high school there, I think, all 3 or 4 years. And then he went to his postgraduate year. And there's a lot of great athletes. Vinny Testaverde was a quarterback the year before I was there. So it's a football factory, and it's a really good option to save your career if you want to continue playing in college, because it doesn't count against your eligibility in college. But going from a public school, having long hair, having a Trans Am, and having his girlfriends here and there, you go to military school in the middle of nowhere, your first year away from home, kind of as a free-spirited kid. It was a year that you really had to adapt to, and you had to sacrifice to in order to keep your dream alive of playing Division I, football and Division I college. And I did it, and it was a big sacrifice, but it saved my career. And I owe Fork Union Military Academy everything to, saving my career, really.
Did you make him forget Vinny?
What's that?
Did you make him forget Vinny?
No, they didn't forget Vinny. Vinny, well, he actually showed me around when I took my visit there, and he was like, hey, I'm going to UM right now. It's going to be, sun, girls, and palm trees. Good luck here, with your year here, because it's tough. And he told me it was tough, so he got me prepared for it. But no, Vinny was a great quarterback there. But I think I still did get nominated, though, as the all-time school's best athlete. So maybe a little bit.
Nice. Trans Am T-tops included, I guess.
Right. No T-top, but it was good.
Oh. John mentioned the Mike thing earlier. Yeah, right. Oh, man, I didn't know they came without the T-tops. I just thought that was a thing. No?
Yeah, they did.
John mentioned the Mike Ditka piece, and we obviously as Packer fans love to hate those in the NFC North, but back when you played the NFC Central, However, I learned that the last time the Packers beat the Cowboys twice in the same season, all those playoffs included, was 1989. Did the Cowboys have a special place on your hate list?
No, but they were they were a good team to play back then in that year. I mean, they only won one game, you know, so that was Aikman's first year as a rookie, and they were going through a big transition with Jimmy Johnson. So that was weird, though. I mean, why would you play an NFC team twice in 1 year? I mean, I don't. That's never happened any other year in my career, and that was the first time it ever happened. I think it's the only time it ever happened. But it was kind of weird. We played them in mid-season, and then we played them, I think, the last game of the season in both in Green Bay and one in Dallas. So had some good games against them, though. I at that time. I really enjoyed beating up on them a little bit. Yeah,
and it went kind of downhill from there in the 90s, but.
They were 1-15 that year. In that last game, I think when you played them is when the toilets froze because it was so cold, and Jerry Jones was like, "How am I ever going to turn this into a $7 billion business that's going to win 3 Super Bowls and then be disappointing for 30 years after that?" Before we kind of add this up, just tell me what that 1989 season was like. Herman Edwards said he told me one time, you have no idea the difference on a Monday between winning and losing. He's like, it seems that simple. He goes like, you can't describe to the average person the difference. So try your best you can to explain just what that ride was like in 89. You clown the 49ers, and they were great.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, I mean, obviously my first 2 years we were 4-12, and maybe 4-12 years in a row. So, we had some rough first couple of years, but the 89 team, Lindy Infante was our head coach, and he came as an offensive coordinator from Cleveland. He was an offensive genius, really. I mean, he was the first guy that really, really taught me how to play and learn the intricacies of the quarterback position in great detail. And he was such a great teacher and fun guy, enjoyed playing for him. And our team really took on his personality. We were a really tight-knit group of guys. Didn't have a whole lot of all-pro guys, but we were some guys that just went out there, and we started understanding his system in his second year, and we just took off. And, we played really well against some really good teams, and, came from behind so many times. And we had 4 1-point come from behind victories. And we, like you said, we beat San Francisco that year. And we beat New Orleans that year after being down 28-3 at halftime. And just Chicago twice that year. And it was such a fun year because, like I said, the guys in that team were such a close-knit group that after every game, the guys would come to my house, no questions asked, for a party after the game, and even the old timers, like we were talking about Horning. Horning used to come over sometimes with Fuzzy Thurston and Max McGee. Those guys would come over. It was a great community, and being able to hang out with all our guys, it was a lot of fun. When we won on the road, especially like you said, we beat San Francisco in San Francisco, and the plane rides back were something to something to experience, man. It was a party, and it was the old school days. So I mean, it was different. Let's just put it that way. I mean, it was different, man. Back in those days, like when we got on a flight and you won a game, right? And you know how on a regular flight, you got the cart girl coming down the airplane with the drinks. What do you want, drinks or chips or pretzels? We didn't have a cart girl come down the alley. This was our trainers coming down with the medicine. What do you want? How many Percocets? How many Vicodin? How many of this do you want? And it was different. It was like Nordell's 40, man, but it was fun.
Love Nortel. Every time you called a game, I called a business. Every time you called a business, I called a game.
There you go. That's a great movie.
What kind of game did Horning and those guys have back then when they would come over on Sunday? Were they still Super Bowl form?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they were only in their 50s, So I mean, shoot, they were younger than I was right now. They'd come over to the house, and let me tell you, when they did come over to the house, Horning and Fuzzy Thurston and Max McGee, when they came to my house and we were sitting around the bar with the current guys, with the current girlfriends or wives, those old guys, the old timers, man, the legends, they held court, and everybody just was in awe listening to their stories. Their stories were nonstop. They just one after another. And Horning, oh my gosh, he just Great stories, man. Just unbelievable. I wish we had time to talk about a few, but there's just too many to talk about. But Horning and those guys were great. Fuzzy Thurston became a great friend, man. He spoke at my wedding. Not that he was invited to. He just went up there after a few vodka tonics, man. He went up took over on stage and just started speaking. It was unbelievable. Got down to 3-point stance after he gave me a little speech, and I got the crowd fired up at my wedding. Good times with those guys. And that was one of the neatest things. People ask me what was one of the coolest things about being a Green Bay Packer, and for me to be able to say that I was such good friends with those legends was an honor for me, and that was one of the greatest things that I enjoyed that I was able to do. What a perk!
That's amazing.
I kind of wish social media existed back then. I know you don't, but man, I would have loved this.
No, you don't.
No. Yeah, that's a good point, because I don't know how these guys go about, in their professional career with the social media thing going on. It's just awful. I mean, you can't do anything without somebody getting a flip phone and, putting you on tape, putting you on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think you speak for everybody in your era when you are very glad that didn't exist, man.
For sure.
All right, we will be back to wrap it up with the Magic Man himself, Don Majkowski. Lightning Round is next. The Inside Wisconsin Show.
The Inside Wisconsin Show is brought to you by American Family Insurance, Aaron's Company, Blaine's Farm and Fleet, Capital Credit Union, Festival Foods, Quick Trip, Miller Lite, North Star Mohican Casino Resort, Provea Health, and the University of Wisconsin-Platteville.
Hey, remember to subscribe on YouTube. Leave a review. Smash the like button. Just get with us. J.A., you and I were texting on Thanksgiving, which meant you weren't sleeping during the Lions-Packers game. So how was Thanksgiving? How was the meal?
Good, as always. Regular green beans.
Yeah.
And also a regular no cheesy potatoes.
Yep, no cheese. None of the things that I would enjoy, but I'm
on green bean casserole. Yeah. If you go listen to the Seth Meyers podcast with his brothers, it was like trips with the Myers or road trips, whatever.
Okay.
They had tell us your Thanksgiving stories, and a guy called in and told a green bean casserole story that is perfect. So I'll leave it at that. But just to say, after you hear it, you'll go, yeah, see, green bean casserole, as we all expected. Not the route, not the way to go. Not the way to go.
Happy to have it on my plate this Thanksgiving. And if there are things that you want on your plate for Christmas, speaking of holiday meals, head to Festival Foods and pick up the holiday meals. Heat and serve holiday meals, festfoods.com. There on the homepage, click holiday meals. You can start shopping. You can pick up it in the store. You can download an order form. Everything is there so that whether you want green bean casserole for Christmas. I think we do it for Christmas too. I'm not kidding. I think we legit do it for Christmas.
You do turkey? We don't.
I don't think so. I think we do ham.
We always do a prime rib. It's delicious.
Oh, you know what? You know what else we do? And I'm certain that Festival can make this happen for you.
They can make anything happen. They have turkey butter. Remember?
And like 100,000, right? I mean, literally everything. Yeah, they do.
There's nothing these people can't do.
So, if I say cannibal sandwiches, do you know what that is?
No.
Do you know what tiger meat is?
No.
Okay. There's a meal.
I'm a Missouri Tiger. I don't eat tigers. That's just a personal policy.
Hang tight with me. You might think this is the grossest thing ever. I personally like it. It's raw hamburger seasoned, and then you put it on a piece of rye bread, raw hamburger. You spread it on rye bread, and some people put onions on top of it. Have you had this ever?
No.
You're alone. There are a lot of people.
It's a salmonella sandwich.
No, don't overdo it. I think that's a little dangerous, but this is a very common thing in Wisconsin. I'm certain if you talk to the people at Festival Foods in the meat department, they can help you out with this. You just
they have hamburger.
Well, but it's like 80-20. It's got to be a specific kind, and that way you don't get sick and don't overdo it. But I'm telling you right now, I want everybody watching this, me and you, right here for a second. Comment below if you've ever had a cannibal and or tiger meat sandwich. John's alone on this one. I promise you this is a highly, highly popular thing here in Wisconsin, specifically at the holidays.
I'll just say this. I'm fine being alone because I'm right. So it's all right, and sometimes I will give you, it's exactly the same reason I don't eat sushi. Okay. I have no desire to insult the man who invented fire. Well, now that we have fire and we can cook things, we don't need to eat it raw anymore. We've got a better way. Okay. And think about this. When we invented the wheel, great invention like fire, you're not driving around on square tires.
No, doesn't work.
We invented fire. Let's cook it. That simple.
By the way, Sushi Wednesday is awesome at Festival Foods. Shop there. Festfoods.com. No, not raw hamburger.
Cook
Comment.
it. It's a fish fry. It's a fish fry.
All right, back to wrap it up with Don Majkowski, the Inside Wisconsin show. A couple for me, and then the lightning round with J.A. First things first, I seem to personally know that you are musically gifted, my friend. You can play the guitar and got a little pipe there going on.
Yeah, you know what? I enjoy music. You know, I started playing when I was a young kid, 9 years old. I'm self-taught, can't read music, but over the years I've gotten better and better, and nowhere near being a professional, obviously. But you know, I get by pretty well. And a really neat thing about being a so-called celebrity is you play in all of these, or you participate in all these events. Like back in the late 90s, Dan Marino used to have a great celebrity golf tournament, and I met Darius Rucker and Hootie the Blowfish at his golf tournament, talked with those guys, and they were fans. I was big fans of theirs, and they were giving a benefit concert the next night for Marino as a fundraiser. And, you know, I told them, hey, I'm a big, you know, supporter of you guys. I can play the music. I'm pretty good. They're like, no, really? I'm like, yeah, no, I'm pretty good, man. And they're like, well, you want to play with us? I'm like, absolutely. And they're like, well, come to sound check tomorrow at noon, and we'll give you an audition. So I went to sound check, and we did the song "Let Her Cry," right? And Darius goes, okay, you're me. You got the whole song. Go ahead. And I did pretty well. And he was like, all right, man, that was awesome. So we hit it off from then on. And yeah, I got to play with Bret Michaels and Poison in 1990. Every Rose Has a Thorn in Green Bay, Brown County Arena at the time, now the Rest Center. So yeah, I was able to do a lot of cool things with music. It's been fun. And I really enjoy it.
All right, last one for me. 3 degrees of cheese. John and I talk all the time that we all have this connection back to Wisconsin. 7 degrees or whatever. Kevin Bacon, screw that. It's 3 degrees of cheese. The Majkowski in Don form wasn't the only Majkowski to have a little bit of a sports standing here in Green Bay. Your son, Bo, played for the Northwoods League baseball team here, yeah?
He did. You know, my son was a scholarship baseball player at Clemson. He played at Clemson in college. And then the summer, a lot of times the college players, every summer they go and they play their summer ball somewhere. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, the summer he came to Green Bay and played for the Green Bay Booyah, which that was the coolest thing ever. It was when COVID was happening, so he was in a hotel for like 18 days because he kept testing positive for COVID. So it wasn't a great experience. It could have been a lot more fun. I never saw him play in Green Bay. I would have been there at every game. But I was excited when he first decided to go there and play summer ball there.
It's cool.
Pretty cool. Yeah.
Baseball's the way to go. Guaranteed contracts. Nobody hits you.
You would think that, John, and I swear he's had more injuries in college playing baseball than I did playing football in college. I mean, dislocated his shoulder as an outfielder, diving for balls, tearing his labrum, dislocated his shoulder twice. And it really hampered his career, to go on and possibly get drafted. So baseball players, man, they get injured more than you would think. And it's a non-contact sport. It's crazy. Yeah.
All right. Now I line you up. We're just going to fire through some of these. Hopefully they don't take long. We just need your best answers, and we'll fire right through this.
Okay.
Since Trevor brought it up, give me your favorite band.
Foo Fighters.
Go-to song that you could play or sing, like if you got to bring down the house.
Every Rose Has a Thorn or Let Her Cry.
Okay, so you went with the standards that you just came through. Good. You got a day off. You're going to hunt, fish, or golf?
Well, I would definitely golf if I could play golf. I can't play anymore, but I definitely never hunted. I never fished.
Okay. You grew up in Buffalo. I know you like Joe Willie, but give me your favorite Bill growing up, and it's okay to say OJ.
OJ, for sure, OJ was. But I used to watch their quarterback at the time was Joe Ferguson. I was like 9 years old when he started playing for the Bills. And my last year in Detroit, I don't know how old he was, but they brought him in and he was trying out. He tried out with Detroit. I mean, I don't know how old he was. I mean, he had to be close to, I don't know, 45, 46. But that was kind of a crazy thing.
Good QB. I think he played at Arkansas, Trev, if you go through there.
I don't know where he played.
Who'd you throw your first career touchdown pass to?
Paul Caruth.
Correct.
Guy. Yeah.
Who'd you throw the last one to?
Brett Perriman, when I was quarterback for Detroit Lions. It was in 1996. I was starting for Detroit, and we played the Packers in Lambeau Field. My last game I ever played in the NFL, and it was the year the Packers won the Super Bowl, and they beat us. And I took a pretty good beating that day, but I did throw a couple touchdowns, and that one was to Brett Perriman.
If you got one more to throw, who are you going to throw to? Herman Moore or Sterling Sharp?
Man, I love throwing to Herman, former UVA Wahoo, but Sterling Sharp was my guy. And I got to say Sterling Sharp. He was my guy for most of my career, and I had the most success with him, and he was my guy. Definitely Sterling.
How good a day at work is it when you get to hand off to Barry Sanders?
Oh, it could have been a lot better in 1989. Now, we would have taken him in the draft instead of Tony. Now, I love Tony. Tony's my buddy, but he would understand me saying this. My job would have been a lot easier if we would have drafted Barry. But when I did get to play with him for 2 years in Detroit, no one's better, man. He was the best. And I got to play a year with Marshall Faulk as well in Indianapolis, but Barry was the king.
Does Brett Fullwood get in? Does he get any votes in there?
Brett was good, man. In his prime in 1989, Brett had it going on. He had some big upside, but injuries slowed up his career too.
Best pass you ever threw? I don't care what age you were.
Best pass I ever threw was 1989, playing in Chicago. I threw a touchdown pass to Perry Kemp. It was minus 6-7 degrees. The field was frozen. I got out of the pocket. I was rolling to my left, and I threw it back. I was running to my left, and I threw it back to the middle of the field, going to my left, and threw it over a couple linebackers, and about a 25-yard pass, but it was from the sideline back to the middle of the field. Definitely probably the best pass in the conditions that I ever had.
And went against everything every quarterback coach ever taught. Good for you.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Give me one you'd want back.
Oh, gosh, there's so many. You know what? I threw a pick to Ron Rivera, the series right before the 1989 instant replay game. We got the ball back, luckily, and I went down the field and was able to throw a touchdown pass to Sterling. But I threw a pick to Ron Rivera the series before that, and it was an ugly pick, and it looked like things were pretty bleak at that moment.
So we have it here, right? Quay Walker wears number 7 now. Who was the Packer that wore 7 after you?
There wasn't any except for actually there was a quarterback. Yeah, Hundley, right?
The first guy to wear it after you was punter Sean Landetta in 1998.
Oh, Landetta. Okay, I know.
Kept under wraps, but that's pretty good if they keep your number under wraps for a decade, right? Like that means that you're doing all right. Have you ever?
Go ahead.
Have you ever considered going over Niagara Falls in a barrel?
No, sir. Now I'm petrified of Niagara Falls. Been there many times. Scares the hell out of me.
So, like, as a tourist attraction, do you recommend I go?
No. I mean, yeah, it's a tourist attraction. I do, but don't go down in the Maid of the Mist, like in that boat at the bottom of it. It scared me to death.
All right. I see it on the bottom of our screen, but I'm going to ask you anyway. Spell the word magic.
Majik.
I wonder how many kids in elementary school in Green Bay got that marked wrong that did that. That would be great. Or the teachers were like, +1, we like that you're clever. Packers 1987 draft. You're the 10th rounder. Which guy from that draft played the most games in the NFL?
Vinny Testaverde.
I'm talking about the Packers draft. Packers, of the guys the Packers drafted. Only one guy played more games than you did.
Probably Johnny Holland.
Johnny Holland is correct. 103, all with the Packers.
Yeah.
Finally, where does a guy from Buffalo go for wings?
Oh man, there's the Anchor Inn, I guess, is the go-to spot. But there's so many good places in Buffalo that I've got a lot of good spots.
Do you know Lenova and Lead Pipe?
You know what? I being from Buffalo, you think that I would know all the good spots, but I mean, I left when I was 18 years old, so I mean, I really haven't been hanging out, going to a lot of places when I was younger there. So
That's how I feel about Green Bay. Like I was out, and that was. By the way, tell the people what's a wahoo that don't know.
man, it's a fish. It's a fish, and wahoo wah. That's the big saying for Virginia. I don't know why they call it that. I guess some students drank like fish at one point, but
Well, God bless you and the Who's and Herman Moore. But I think outside of
yeah,
Thomas Jefferson, you're the person I most associate with the University of Virginia. And you are certainly one of the top 3 or 4 guys I will always associate with the Green Bay Packers.
thanks,
People
God.
can talk about Bart Starr before my time. Brett Favre, sadly, he was past my time. I'm in on number 7 for all time, man. Thanks for joining us.
Man, that's awesome. Thanks, buddy. I appreciate it. Trev, thanks for having me, man. You guys are great.
Yeah, thanks for giving your number to a random bald dude at a tailgate party. I appreciate that. That's what led to this. Thanks a lot.
You
There
should
it
have
is,
said that,
number
Trev. When he said, "Can I have your number?" You should have said, "Yeah, 7."
7. Yeah, man.
Yeah,
Thanks,
there you
Magic.
go. Awesome stuff, guys.
J.A., I know there's a lot about the old Packers that I don't know, but Magic is in my wheelhouse. That was fantastic. I absolutely love that combo.
He did. He brought a lot of people into the tent, right? There were and actually made some believers when we were all wandering in the wilderness. He and Lindy and Fonte gave us. I remember they hired Lindy and Fonte, and the fellow there along Lombardi Avenue that always paints his fence.
Yeah.
And I kept thinking we were so bad that they should have. I thought he was going to paint like we'll beat Indy with Lindy because they were the only team worse than us. But it was a magical year. And I know right now a lot of people think 1989 was a magical year because of the singer gal, Taylor Swift. But 1989 was a magical year because of Don Majkowski. And I mean that. I get that he is not of the same strata of Favre and Rodgers, but notoriety-wise, like Q rating, if you say to people, Don Majkowski, Majik Man, like they recognize that almost on par with those 2 guys, which seems odd, but I think is true.
Do you think if he doesn't have the playing career that he does in Green Bay, do you think the rest of it happens? Do you think it started with Magic?
No, I think it began with Ron Wolf.
Okay.
So,
yeah,
I think, but that's one of the. But the team had been the fans so starved for so long, that to have that, look how we attach ourselves to 1982 in the year that they went to the playoffs. Even though it was a strike shortened season, that you were still, right there. So,
you say 1982, and the first thing I thought of was the Brewers. I forgot we were talking about the Packers.
Yeah, and they make it to the playoffs, and they actually won a game, beat the Cardinals at home.
Yeah,
so,
good stuff.
There's that.
Thanks to Magic for coming on and just reminiscing. Those stories are as good as they get.
Yeah.
So are your John Wisconsin stories from the JA land of the childhood. They're as good as it gets. What's next on John Wisconsin?
I feel like this is my childhood because I was 89. So I am 24 at the time. Mm-hmm. I'm working in Tulsa. And they always have media softball leagues, right, with the radio stations, the paper, and the TV stations. But we got together and we had a big football game. We had a big touch football game. It was the station I was at the time, KTUL, which is my very first station I worked at, against KOTV, which is a station I would eventually go to. And so I am ready to go. I am playing quarterback. I have my number 7 jersey out, and the old left-hander, the crafty left-hander, is out there playing quarterback.
That's amazing.
And we are routing these guys, right? We're killing them. So now we're having fun. We're all going to go in, and we are now going to play other positions because it's just fun. And now we give up another touchdown, and now the game has become close again.
Oops.
Right. So I don't even know how in touch football game, I'm trying to remember how we decided to run out the clock, because in your neighborhood, it ended when your mom or dad said, hey, come in for dinner.
Yeah.
Right. How do you
Right.
keep, right? So eventually you get to kind of the whole thing, and you give in our case, I don't know if you always, did you play like next touchdown wins?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Because we had to go. Yeah.
Right. You're down 49-21, whatever. Like, that's okay. Next touchdown wins. So here we are. Next touchdown wins. And because even if you're getting destroyed, we figure, you get a shred of decency. And now I am out playing wide receiver. So I am channeling my inner James Lofton, former track guy. I'm going to be super fast. And Eddie, I'm trying to think of Eddie's last name. He's one of our audio guys. He ran the board. So Eddie's he's out there throwing quarterbacks, throwing dimes at quarterback position. And I take off on a fly route, and I think this is going to be great. I am open. I'm waving the hand. I have the Magic jersey on. At this point, I have turned my Packer hat backwards. I'm that confident in this. And as I'm about to catch this bad boy, a guy named Brett Harden swoops underneath and catches it and takes it all the way the other way for the touchdown.
Oh, no.
Brett Harden from KOTV. And then, like, less than a year later, I'm working at KOTV. And then, and so now I'm working with Brett, who lets me hear it all the time. And now Brett leaves for greener pastures. And 25 years ago, I moved to Connecticut, and lo and behold, I turn on the local news in Hartford, and there is Brett Harden on my TV at the Fox station. So Natch, right? I call him. Hey, can I get a hold of Brett Harden? Da-da-da. And first thing he says, are you calling to talk about the touchdown pass? I'm like, no, you son of a bitch. I'm calling to talk about I moved to Connecticut and we should go have lunch. But now I'm not so sure.
Oh,
I should have never given up. I should have just played quarterback, and we should have just kept pounding them.
Last I checked, Magic had a position.
Lesson, kids, don't take your foot off the gas. Even if you're just playing in a field on Riverside Drive in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and you're up 40, just keep going.
All gas, no break. No
guys right there on my television set.
That's unbelievable.
He was a good athlete. He was a college triple jumper, the whole thing. But still, there it was.
Pretty fast too, and
hey,
able to catch.
Are you calling to ask about that? No, not at all.
As a matter of fact, now you're going to buy me dinner.
Yeah, I would like to see that in some games. Like if you had in that Monday night game between the Bears and Vikings, next touchdown wins, we might never have been. The game may never have gotten over.
Brutal.
The other one I think they should really think about is pass as good as a kick. We don't need punters. There's no roughing the passer. Did you ever play that?
I believe so.
Right?
Isn't it kicking like a thing of the past anyway?
Yeah, you just drop back and everybody goes long, and then wherever the ball lands, if you don't catch it for the touchdown, that's just where you take over.
Or if you don't return it for a 99-yard touchdown return.
Yeah, go people.
Sorry,
but,
Tim Boyle.
I'm just saying, let's just go, and pass as good as a kick would be a great rule in the NFL.
And next touchdown wins.
Likewise, by the way, the catch rule we don't need an elaborate catch rule. I think everybody looks at catches while they're being reviewed, and they all just go, in my neighborhood in the backyard, that'd have been a catch. That's all. Right. That's all. Like that should. I don't know how you more accurately define that to legislate it. But how many times you just go and you look at that and they go, that's incomplete. And you go, really? Because in my backyard, that'd have been a catch, and we'd have been playing, and we wouldn't have needed 6 minutes to look at the thing.
And somehow it all comes back.
If it's a catch in John's backyard, it's a catch. Those are the things that need to be changed in the NFL.
Got it. That's all that needs to happen.
Better game.
All right. Before we bolt here, let's talk real quick about the next episode of Deeper Roots with our friends at Blaine's Farm and Fleet. I took a little ganter. I took a little ride down to Jaunt. That's what I was looking for. I tried with the words, and it just doesn't work sometimes.
It happens sometimes, yeah.
Took a little drive down to Slinger, Wisconsin, met two sisters, Krista and Kara. Inspiration Acres. John, I was hoofing some Christmas trees around a lot, and also had a little time in a sleigh with the gnome. This is a classic one. 'Tis the season.
I just want to make sure. So you went to Slinger and you found the person you were looking for, as opposed to me when I went to Slinger looking for the gal with my friend Sharpie and found nobody.
That was an amazing story.
Okay. Just want to make sure you found the people you're looking for. Already your story is way better than mine.
It's a good one. You'll enjoy it. It's festive for the holiday season. Let's go to Inspiration Acres in Slinger. We will not knock on anybody's door, I promise. I have a bad feeling that you're about to put me to work. I mean, I'm happy to help since I'm here. That didn't come out right, did it? No.
Can you please push the letters down? Because I'm too short. No, just right there.
Okay. Let's get
just stick them down a little bit. Whoa. And the tree.
Yep,
Come on.
over here.
We just put it up this year. Much better.
Happy to help. Farmers, brewers, hunters, packers, badgers, cheeseheads, neighbors. No matter what name we go by, we are bound together by our roots. These are the people, the stories, and the statriotism from inside Wisconsin. Welcome to Deeper Roots with Blaine's Farm and Fleet. We're at Inspiration Acres in Slinger, Wisconsin. Krista, Kara, 'tis the season. Yeah, this is all about the holiday feel, Christmas time, but it's not your full-time gig.
We are a sister duo that grew up in the Slinger area on a dairy farm, and we decided after we went away to college, got corporate jobs, we really loved that, but we were just missing something, and so we wanted that passion project. So in 2020, we started Inspiration Acres as a Christmas tree lot and gift market.
And what was the meaning behind starting it?
My dad passed away in 2015, and my mom, unfortunately, in 2019. And during that journey, we always talked about, what are we going to do with the home farm? We're not milking cows anymore, thank goodness. It was, how could we keep the family farm in business and turn it into something that the community could be part of? We watched a lot of Hallmark Christmas movies, sun up to sundown, sometimes even in July. That was always Mom's dream, and so we decided to make it happen after she passed away.
And so this is season 4 of Inspiration Acres. Where does the name come from?
Last year my mom was alive, we decided to go to Graceland as like a bucket list trip. She had cancer, and so we went and we all picked our word on New Year's Eve, and her word that year was inspiration. When we were trying to think of a name, it was kind of a no-brainer that, you know, she was the inspiration behind us doing this project, our inspiration, you know, a lot of things that we did in life.
And Inspiration Acres is a pop-up. This is a thing that only exists during the holiday seasons. What are the different facets of what someone would experience if they experienced Inspiration Acres?
We're open for 3 weekends a year. We open that day after Thanksgiving, and we're open for the first 3 weekends until the holiday season. But it's a year-round gig in addition. So we actually planted our first trees on our home farm this year in spring. And so part of planting trees, got to get them in the ground. We went through the drought this year. That wasn't exactly the most fun. But you cone, you fertilize, you mow. And then shearing, we're learning and we're growing throughout it. It's good for us to test each other. It builds our bond. Sometimes a bit too much, a little dysfunction, we say it's time to walk away for the day, and when we come back, but it's pretty cool to be able to be best friends with your sister and do something that's meaningful.
What are the different facets and what keeps you going on this?
We have our 3 main areas, the trees that we grow, all the evergreens. We have, every year we feature charities that we give back a portion of our proceeds to. And so that's really a way for us to give back to our community. There's a lot of people in need. You know, the holidays are great for some and they're bad for others, and we'll donate a portion of our proceeds to them. Third piece is our local gift market. So we are featuring over 35 local vendors this year. It's, you know, another way for their creative outlets and for another opportunity for a sales market for them. You put this to the top, please.
Put it up in the gnomes. There you go. Yeah. There we go.
Mayberry is one of the vendors. What is it about this one that's meaningful to you guys?
They are another example of entrepreneurship and just living out their dream. There's a group of us that talk about our businesses and, hey, what if we could do this, or how could we try? And that women-inspired businesses. And so Danielle is doing all of the things at Mayberry Farms.
I love this too. Look at it. Check this out. Love where you live, Wisconsin. That is fitting for us. It's like Christmas threw up in here, which is a good thing. What else is it that people would expect to feel inspired by here?
We've got hats, we've got earrings, jewelry, signs. It's not a skill I have, so it's really great to have all these people bring all of their items here and have the outlet for them. And we get all of our Christmas shopping done while we're working. It's pretty
You have
great.
ornaments?
Lots of ornaments.
One of the things that we always did with our mom is we made salto ornaments.
Come again?
Salto ornaments at Christmas. So you make the batch salto, you roll them out, use the cookie cutters, and you bake them, and then you paint them. And so for our first 3 seasons actually here at Inspiration Acres, anybody that bought a tree got a salto ornament as a way in a remembrance of our mom.
You started in 2020. What part of that year said, we really need to do this?
That whole year, everybody was cooped up. We saw the craft fairs shutting down, and that was actually one of the things with the vendor market was we gave people an outlet that had already invested in their goods, but we gave an experience from in a year that really a lot was taken away.
And I assume that that first year was probably incredible, where everybody was like, yo, we really needed this.
We pulled it together. You know, some parts were not so incredible, like just the learning curve of it all. We appreciate everyone that comes here to visit us.
And they come back. I think that's the thing, those folks that we met in the first year, they're still coming back and they're making traditions out of it.
This is a labor of love. What keeps you doing it?
You do it because you love it and you're passionate about it. That the stories and the connections with people, we're all humans. We're all going through things, no matter big, small, and different. And if you can give people a place where they can experience joy with their family and make memories, I think that's the most powerful.
So tree lot, right? Do you load the trees up for the people that come and get the trees? Like, hey, load it yourself? Like, what does that look like?
We try to do all the things, and yes, we may be, short, but we're mighty, and so we do try to help our customers as much as when it comes to picking out a tree. You do the Vanna White spin all the way around. We save domestic disputes, on which tree are we doing, short, tall, fat. We've got them all.
So, like, how many trees did you plant just recently?
We planted about 1,200 trees in our red granite land and 1,000 trees here in Richfield. Our goal is to be able to scale year over year, and if we plant a couple thousand every year, as we figure it out as we learn, hopefully we'll have a bumper crop to harvest on farm.
Okay, heard this entire time that you could use me to reach some things or move some things. I'm not He-Man, but I am tall. So you point, I'll do.
I am very excited and really grateful. I want you to straighten that top out there.
Do I have to move?
I'm joking.
Oh, you're joking?
I'm totally joking. Let's come do some real work.
Okay, where do you want this moved to? Let's point and click first.
So we gotta move this one.
What's first? This guy?
Nope, this guy. Why do you make it look so easy?
I'm a giant. What do you want? Catch the tree. Okay.
All right, try it. Try back again. There you go.
I almost fell over, which would have been great for everything but me.
Fair enough. Can you do this one? You're not even look at you.
I'm a large mammal, Krista. Oh, I don't want to break the top off.
Don't break the top off.
Why do you? Okay. See, this is why we can't have nice things.
You're supposed to lean them. Just lean them against there.
Move it over here a little bit. That's not gonna break.
That's not gonna break. I'm sure.
Pontius Pilate that. I'm out.
We're Christmas, we're joy. This is the biggest tree we have on the lot.
I talk into a microphone for a living. This is the biggest tree you have in the lot?
This is the biggest tree width-wise.
How do you know this when it's, you saw it?
Because I cut it down in the field
and I drug it. Is this the one that broke the binder?
This is the one that broke the baler. My little
binder,
head, baler, binder. It was rough.
Ready?
It doesn't fit.
Is this a Fraser fir?
It is a Fraser fir. And this tree is actually probably close to 13 to 14 years old.
Will you Vanna White this?
Yes, this is the Vanna White process.
I'll take it.
Boom! And it'll drop about a little bit more.
How long is this gonna last?
The key to tree care. Please just fresh cut it right as you put it in your stand, get it in water right away.
You're gonna fresh cut it and then we're gonna take it home.
I will absolutely fresh cut it.
But these last the longest, don't they?
So Fraser firs are really known for their branch strength and their needle retention. So they can handle heavy ornaments and they have really strong branches.
When do you have your moment? And I think you know what I mean. Because there's a moment each year where you just kind of pause and go,
We've got a pretty big sleigh out there that our families come and take their annual photos with. We've seen multiple Christmas cards. On the last night, when all the trees are always gone, thank goodness, because people continue to come support us, Kara and I will sit out in the sleigh, put our feet up, have a beer, and we look and we say, wow, we did this again, and how lucky are we and blessed that our family is doing it alongside of us, our friends, everybody's cheering us on. That moment when you get to look at an empty lot is pretty cool, but I will say when we were putting trees up this weekend, I was like, how lucky are we? We're turning a parking lot into Christmas. It's fun.
Thank you for inviting us out. Have a very Merry Christmas. But I just don't think this gig's for us. I don't see you moving any trees around here. Silent treatment? That's what we're gonna do. On Comet, on Cupid, on Donner, on Miller Lite. That's what we need, beer. Happy birthday! Isn't that what Frosty says? Happy birthday! He is, that's exactly what he says. Wilson Fraser! You would think that I am absolutely ready for the loony bin. I'm not. It's Christmas. It's a different kind of joy. I'm sitting in a sleigh talking to a gnome. This is what I choose to do for a living. What, you never sat in a sleigh and talked to a gnome? Holly jolly episode of Deeper Roots with Blaine's Farm and Fleet in the books. The final episode of this year. If you'd like to follow Kara and Krista's festive tree farming journey, check out their Facebook and Instagram at Inspiration Acres WI, or visit their website. Speaking of websites, make sure in the new year to head to farmandfleet.com/deeperroots and fill out the online form for a chance to have your deep-rooted Wisconsin story told here on Deeper Roots. We're always looking for our next guest, and we would love to hear from you. As always, don't forget to like and comment below. Smash subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. And if you're listening to the podcast side, leave us a 5-star review. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Talk to you later. Bye.
Remember to subscribe on YouTube. Leave a review. Smash the like button. Just get with us.
The Inside Wisconsin Show is brought to you by American Family Insurance, Aaron's Company, Blaine's Farm and Fleet, Capital Credit Union, Festival Foods, Quick Trip, Miller Lite, North Star Mohican Casino Resort, Provea Health, and the University of Wisconsin-Platteville.
Shut up and sit down.